Hello, TV family. Welcome back to Ted and Vero TV. My name is Veronica, and this is my husband.
Hi, I'm Ted.
By now, you've seen by the title of this video what we'll be talking about today. This is the story about how I found out my father passed away. There is no part of this story that does not bring tears to my eyes. I'm going to try as hard as I can not to cry through the entire story. Father's Day being this past Sunday, I decided that why not bring this story out and share with our viewers, just in case someone has also lost a father, they can also relate. So my father was a great man. I know everyone says this, but mine truly was. He was an architect. He built with his hands. He was a fisherman. He was a farmer. He was a kind and loving father. I remember when I was younger, he would take me fishing with him. My mom hated that idea of me being at sea, but my dad was adventurous, and so he would take me and my sisters to go with him. That is the kind of man that my father was. At the time I got the news of his passing, I lived in Maryland, USA, and my family was in Ghana. So this is February 5th, 2017. It was Super Bowl Sunday. A few minutes, like in the morning, it was around 9 a.m. My friends came. They were like, "Oh, Veronica, we are downstairs picking you up for church. Let's go." I get into the car looking good, feeling great. There is nothing in the air that makes me feel like there is something going on in my life. So we are heading to church. We were supposed to pick up one more person. So we went and picked up that person. The person got into the car and I saw a call coming. The call was from my brother-in-law. We talk, but we are not that close. So why am I getting the call from him? So to be honest with you, I thought something had happened to my sister. I decided that, okay, I excused myself and I said, okay, guys, I'm going to answer this call quickly. Can you just give me a few minutes? Because the car was loud. There were a few people in the car. And so everyone was quiet. And I was like, I picked up the phone, I said, hello. And then I could hear screams. Like, when I say scream, painful screams in the background. It was the most horrifying sounds I've ever heard in my life. My heartbeat dropped. Like when I say my heart dropped, anxiety, when I feel anxiety, I feel heat all over my body. It's like something is going on, but I don't have control over it. And because I'm not there in Ghana, I was like, what is going on? Why are people screaming in the background like a movie? He said, okay, I have something to tell you. Right there and there, because of the screams I'm hearing in the background, I said, God, please don't let it be anything that has happened to any of my parents. Because you never imagine that something like this can happen to you until it happens. I'm in the car, I'm like, speak. I'm yelling at him, I'm like, speak, because he's trying to hold back. I'm like, speak, you already called me. Speak. So he said, it's your dad. I said, my dad, what's wrong with my dad? And then he said, well, your dad passed. I said, hold on, what did you say? Oh my gosh, I'm holding myself back. Whew. I screamed from the depth of my soul. Like when I tell you I screamed so loud and hard, it was the worst experience of my life. I screamed and I said, well, I dropped the phone. I started screaming and crying. The people in the car are like, what's going on? And when I screamed, everyone wanted to know what's happening. I'm crying. Like I, at that moment, I felt disoriented. I don't know what is going on. And the person who was driving was like, what's going on? And I can't even talk, At that moment, when someone is going through something like that, I think it's good to give them a moment. She was so curious to know what was going on. Like she was pressuring me. And I'm like, I don't know where to look. Everyone is looking at me and I'm like, my dad passed away. Like it just came out of my mouth. And so she asked me, she said, what do you want to do? I said, take me back home. Like, is that a question to even ask someone? So at that time, my phone was on the floor. My brother-in-law, I think, had hanged up. And finally, somebody called me. They had someone else call me through my mom's phone. And I said, Ma, I could hear my mom crying in the background, but I wasn't sure. Like, it was also confusing. For something like this to happen and for you not to be there in person, I'm the only one in America. All my brothers, there's 5 of us. My 2 brothers and my 2 sisters are in Ghana. I'm the only one here in America. It was so hard for me because they were all there and everyone knew what was going on. And I didn't know what was going on. And so they dropped me home. And they dropped me home. And I wasn't expecting anyone to come into my house with me. But if it was me personally, I would have came out of the car and I would have like, okay, guys, something is going on with Veronica. We're going to stay with her until we know if someone else is at home. But they dropped me off and they left. Oh man. They drove off. So, and I'm like in tears. And when I got inside the apartment, my auntie's kids, they were young. One was 15, around the age of 15. And the other one was still like, he was like 7 years old, you know. So I go into the house and then I'm crying. Just like, Tracy's like, oh, you didn't go to church? I'm like, no, I didn't. My dad, I just found out my dad passed. So that little girl showed more compassion to me than the people in that car. She was so compassionate towards, she was getting ready to, because we all went to a different church. So she was about to be picked up for church. Right there and then she said, okay, she told her little brother, we are not going, we are staying, okay? And he was a little sad because he was excited to go to church and see his friends. But they stayed with me. And the confusion and stuff were in. She called her mom to tell her mom, because my auntie was at work, to tell her mom what had happened. And at that time, the only people I could think of calling were two people, actually. That was my cousin Andrea and my friend Jerry. My cousin Andrea lived in Atlanta, and my friend Jerry lived in Maryland. You know, she lived like, let's say 45 minutes away from me. I picked up the phone and I said, Jerry, this is what happened. Instantly, at that very moment, she said, Veronica, I'm on my way. She was on her way somewhere. She canceled all her appointments. She headed over to my house. And after that, I was just crying. I was just like bawling. I didn't want to be alone because I was like, okay, what would I do to myself if I'm alone? Because the pain was just so much. I started questioning God. So many questions was going through my mind. I was asking him, why was I the only one continuously experiencing stuff? Because my life was already a struggle. I was going through stuff. And then this happened. I'm like, I look around me and I look at the people around me and they seem to have everything going on for them. But why is it that I have to go through this? I have to go through that. Things were going on all around me. Then my dad had to go on top of it and pass away. And I said, God, I can't take this anymore. I was questioning everything. You know how David was praying, and during his prayers, he would say, he would like lament. I was lamenting in my prayers to God. You know, I was just like asking questions. So that day, the reason why I think that I could call my friend Jerry easily was because she had also lost her father. And I know that it's something that she's dealt with for years. And I wanted to understand how you can even go through something, because she would always talk about it, but I didn't know how it felt until I went through that experience. My whole body became numb. And, you know, I cried so much that I couldn't cry anymore. I finally was able to speak to my sister. I said, what happened? I asked her, I said, what happened, sister? What's going on? Where's dad? That's when I finally got to speak to my sister. I asked her, I said, where is dad? She said, they said dad is dead. She said, they said. I said, who said? Who said? She said, the doctor said dad is dead. I said, why? How? I spoke to him on Monday. Today's I had spoken to him on the previous Monday. Today is Sunday. I was going to talk to him the next day. Like, who said? Who are the doctors? And she said, well, this is how he passed away. I said, where was he? They went to church, him and my mom. The service was going on. And you know, in church, sometimes the pastor will ask you, stand up. Let me pray for you. So they all stood up, but my dad was still sitting down. And then, you know, after they finished the prayer and everything, he put his head on my mom's shoulder like this during the preaching. So when the preaching was going on, the whole time his head was like this on my mom's shoulders. And my mom looked at him and she thought that he was probably sleeping or taking a nap, because older people, they get tired and sometimes they nap. So my mom just let him, you know, rest. And so after like the preaching was almost about to be done, she was tapping him to get up so that they could stand up. And then she felt, I guess he wasn't breathing, you know, he wasn't breathing. And she said, Aunt Kenya. That's how they call uncle, like, but they call it Aunt Kenya. My dad's name is Kenya. So they were waking him up. She was waking him up. He wasn't waking up. And so she tried to move a little bit, and then he, I guess, let go. And everyone rushed to come in, do CPR to try and help him. They rushed him to the hospital, which was literally not far from their church. When they got there, the doctors did everything they could and they pronounced him dead. My mom said, no, this can't be. They took him home to our house. They called everyone they know that can do medicine, like herbal medicine back home. They said, he's gone. He's gone. Like, so he was still at the house when I was talking to my sister. And I said, where is my father? She said, he's in the room. I said, what room? She said, he's in the room, you know, next door. And that there are people around him. And I couldn't believe it. I said, where is mommy? She took the phone to my mom. My mom couldn't even talk. I couldn't even talk. The crying was just so much. the tears were coming out. There was so much pain in all of us. And when she told me he passed away at the church, I don't know if that brought me a little bit of comfort, but right there and there, I just felt a cool breeze on me, as though that he was okay. And when I felt that, he was okay, then it's like I felt a little peace within me, even though the pain didn't go away. One of my friends, an old friend, she came actually and stayed with me for a few days. God bless her heart. From the old church I used to go to, she stayed with me for a few days until I think she stayed with me for 2 nights, and then she went home, which was so helpful because at night I'll wake up and I'll have palpitations. I couldn't breathe well, The whole thing was like a dream. And sometimes even now when I think about it, it's still like a dream. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it's real because the Monday before my dad passed, I had spoken to him that day. We had a beautiful conversation. And I'm going to let you guys in on something, okay? For some reason, every time someone is going to pass around me, there is a sign. This might sound weird, but I get a sign. I say this because when I was younger, at the age of 10 years old, my best friend, who was also a cousin of mine, may her soul rest in peace, she was very sick. We went to school together, and we came home in the afternoon. What we do in Ivory Coast is that, because I grew up in the Ivory Coast, what we do in the Ivory Coast is that we go to school and then come home in the afternoon, eat lunch, and then we go back again. But that day, it was one particular day we were coming home, and she told me that she was not feeling good. And I told her, I said, every time we have to go home and do chores, you don't feel good, because she used to use that line a lot. But it happened to be that day she was very sick. So we got home and I was like, don't worry, I'll do all your chores for you. Go lay down. And then by the time I finish and we get ready to go back to school, maybe you'll feel okay. And she said, okay. So she went and laid down. And then she got back and she got up and she felt good. And we went back to school. When we got to school, my shoes that I was wearing, I took my shoes off just to, relax my feet under the classroom desk, When I got up to go home, one shoe was missing. I will never forget. It was a white pair of sandals, and I loved it so much. It was missing. I couldn't find it. I looked for that sandals everywhere. I couldn't find it. The teacher helped me look. I went home with one shoe on my leg, and I was so scared because I was like, my grandmother, whom we live with then, I was like, my grandmother is going to be so mad. She just bought this new shoe, and I lost one already. I thought one of the kids was playing a prank on me. And I never forgot this. God inscripted that thing in my mind, that every time I see that sign, I should pray. But I didn't think much of it. I was a kid. So we got home. She got very sick that night, and she passed away the very next day at the hospital. They took her to the hospital that night, and she passed away. And I was so confused. That was the first death I ever experienced in my life. I felt empty because we are very close. So when my father passed away, when my father was getting ready to pass away, that Monday, I went to work. And when I had left work, I had my boots on when I got to work. And when I got to work, I changed it into my work shoes. When I was leaving, I felt like it was too hot to put the boots on again. So I was just wearing my work shoe all day. But when I got to the bus station, I realized I only had one pair of boots with me. So I went back. I traced every step. I didn't go anywhere. I looked under my desk for my boots. I couldn't find them. I looked everywhere. I traced my step from the company all the way back to the bus. I couldn't find my boots. And I got on another bus. So it took me a while to get home. I got on another bus. While I was sitting on the bus, the Holy Spirit brought into memory my cousin passing and said, remember you lost your shoe. That was a sign for me, but I didn't think much about it. I'm like, what does that mean? So I called one of my pastor friends and he prayed for me actually. And that Monday, I called my dad and I said, Dad, how are you? We talked, the conversation was nice. And I told him, Dad, I can't wait to make it to take care of you. And he was like, my daughter, I know. And I said, Dad, bless me. That's what I told him. I said, pray for me and bless me. I don't know what came over me that day, that Monday. He prayed for me and he blessed me. I remember the prayers he was saying that you will never lack anything. You will be blessed. And he was just praying over my life. And after he finished praying for me, I said, Dad, thank you. The way we talk. I said, Dad, thank you. I'll call you again next week. And after I talked to him like that, the call dropped and, that was it. When he passed away, that thing came to me and I was like, okay, is this a sign that God gives me anytime someone is about to pass, someone that I really love and care about? Because I know people that have passed, but if nothing like this happened, but it's only people close to me. So that freaked me out. I know this story sounds weird, that very part. And I always say that it's not everything that we see that is what is. There is more to this life than what we see. Especially if you are a Christian and you are spiritual, there's more to this life than what we see. And so my dad passed away in 2017. The wound is still there, but it gets better. I can talk about this story now, cry a little bit, and not lament, because God has healed me. Even though I remember my father, and it brings so much joy into my life. You know, I'm reminded of the great things, you know, the great time that we had together, the moments that we shared as a family. Sometimes I'll just think there and I'll just sit there and I remember how my brothers used to be stubborn, and he would just, you know, pat them on the butt and he would never touch me. I was his precious little girl. Like he loved me so much. So every time I think of that, it helps me to be okay. You know what I mean? It helps me to move on. So if you are going through a similar situation of your father passing or any family member, just know that God is with you. You are not alone. And that your pain it gets better. You never forget that there are times where it will come back and you'll cry a little bit, but then you know that, okay, they are in a better place. And you move on. You know, I thank God I still have my great mother who is so strong and so beautiful. And I continue to pray for her that God will keep her. I said, God, give my mother long life, sustain her, and continue to be her strength every single day. My siblings and I are in a place of healing constantly, where every time we remember him, we just bless the name of the Lord. I told Ted that we are going to insert a picture of my wonderful father somewhere here in the video so that you guys can get to see the man that I look just like. I mean, if you see my face, this is my dad's face right here. I look just like him. I'm just so glad I can smile now, even sharing this story. It wasn't like this years ago. It wasn't like this even last year. But each year it does get better. And so thank you for joining us on today's video. Thanks for watching. Ted didn't really say much. He was here as a support system, and I'm just really, really grateful for him. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you once again. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.